Welcome back to the table, friends. I'm your humble host, GreyDMs, and with me as always is Owen.
Hello!
So today, we are going to introduce you to someone that you may or may not know in the TTRPG world. Monty Cook.
Yeah!
I believe Cook came up previously in one of our episodes detailing probably the history of D&D, or the history of maybe it's the OSRD scandal thing. But he is definitely prolific enough in the RPG universe, the TTRPG kind of landscape that you should.
He's kind of royalty in that area.
Yeah, somewhere between Visionary and Madman. It's always so weird talking about these things because he's also just like a 50-year-old guy, and I just watched a YouTube video of him talking. So he's someone you could go look up and get interested in about.
But write an email and send it to him.
True, absolutely. But also he has you'll see he's touched a lot of stuff that we know, and then you can start seeing his particular influence on some of the
style.
Things yeah. So let's go back, basically. Mr. Monty Cook's initial steps into the professional gaming world began at Iron Crown Enterprises in 1988. So ICA was a well-established publisher during the late 80s and 90s. It basically was renowned for entry game systems. It's Rollmaster and the superhero RPG Champions, if you remember that one.
Yep.
Cook's early work in IC involved contributing to the Rollmaster line as both an editor and writer. This foundational experience in the RPG industry provided him with valuable insights in game mechanics and their presentation. His editorial work likely honed his attention to detail and understanding of rule structures, skills essential for a successful game developer. Simultaneously, Cook also contributed to the Champions line, again serving as an editor and writer. His involvement with Champions, a superhero RPG, demonstrated an early capacity to engage with genres beyond traditional fantasy. This is a kind of a point in his career.
Yeah.
The initial foray into a different genre likely broadened his design perspectives and informed his later ability to create diverse and imaginative game worlds. Notably, he is credited as the editor, developer, and designer for the Champions Universe sourcebook published in 1992. This suggests a more significant creative role in this particular product, indicating a growing influence in the developing process. Further highlighting his early career progression, Cook took on the role of line editor for the Hero System. In 1990, he replaced Rob Bell in this position. Additionally, he served as the editor in charge of the Campaign Classics line for the Hero System. Assuming the responsibilities of line editor early in his professional life signifies leadership qualities and a deep understanding of the game systems. This role would have entailed overseeing multiple product releases, coordinating with various creators, and shaping the overall direction of the content in the game line. So during his time at ICE, Cook also developed the Dark Space setting in 1990. The multi-genre setting uniquely blended elements of fantasy, science fiction, and horror. This early exploration of genre fusion foreshadowed his later work on settings like Numenera and The Strange, which similarly defy easy categorization. The creation of Dark Space demonstrates his early interest in crafting imaginative worlds that transcend traditional genre boundaries, requiring a careful balance of different thematic and mechanical events. Okay, so how does he kind of come in now into, Champions is pretty big, but how does he come into more center stage? Well, in 1992, Cook transitioned to TSR.
Yep.
Initially working as a freelancer, during this time he contributed to the Marvel Superheroes game, a project that was ultimately canceled. This early setback, a major company like TSR may have provided him with valuable insights into the unpredictable nature of the industry and the importance of adaptability in the face of a changing market condition. By 1994, Cook joined TSR in a full-time capacity as a game designer. In this role, he contributed to Dungeons & Dragons line by designing several modules. These included Labyrinth of Madness in 1995 and A Paladin in Hell in 1998.
We talked about those a little bit.
Right? That was in the
Satanic Panic.
Yeah. Designing adventures for D&D, the most iconic role-playing game, provided him with crucial experience in crafting engaging narratives, designing balanced encounters, and working with established mechanics in a lore of widely popular game world. These modules likely honed his skills in pacing, encounter design, and storytelling within a well-defined game context. And here it comes. A significant portion of Cook's work at TSR involved contributing to the renowned Planescape setting. And this is where Monty Cook really comes in. So he is essentially the big daddy of Planescape.
Yep.
This setting was notable for its unique philosophical underpinnings and intricate cosmological framework, which distinguished itself from more conventional fantasy settings. Cook played a vital role in expanding the setting through numerous supplements, including the Planewalker's Handbook from 1996 and the acclaimed mega adventure Dead Gods, which we played a little bit of.
Yep.
It's funny because that's Jason's foray with
Yep.
where we were getting into arguing with the squirrels.
Yep.
And it's interesting because there are a couple different takes at planar cosmology, and he basically heavily influenced this one type. This where like a lot of these existential thoughts are like tied into how the universe works. So because they're like the universe is built in this way where morality is now a tangible thing, like, you know, the Tree of Yggdrasil, and it's very interesting. He also contributed to Inner Planes and Tales from the Infinite Staircase, further enriching the lore and adventure possibilities with the Planescape multiverse. While David Zeb Cook is often credited with the initial conception of Planescape, Monty Cook's attempted contributions through those key supplements significantly shaped the setting as was experienced and embraced by many players. His work helped to solidify the setting's distinctive identity and appeal. Later, the Faction War event within Planescape, while a significant storyline, provided to be divisive among fans. This illustrated that even influential designers can make creative choices that elicit varied responses within the passionate RPG community, highlighting the subjective nature of creative work and the strong emotional connections players develop with their established fictional worlds. So in 1999, Cook also designed the Dark Matter Conspiracy game. It's another one that I sit on the shelf. This game was initially designed for the Alternity science fiction role-playing system and was co-designed by Wolfgang Bauer. Set in modern day, Dark Matter explored a world where supernatural phenomenon and intricate conspiracies are genuine elements of reality. The game line was supported by several supplements, including the Dark Matter Arms and Equipment Guide, Xenoform's book, The Killing Jar, and The Final Church. Dark Matter further demonstrated Cook's versatility as a designer. So, I mean, this is where he's like getting into like, he's clearly playing with alternative themes, you know, like, I mean, just Planescape inherently.
Right.
Like, if you're talking about, you know, D&D, like adventures going into hell is one thing, right? Adventures going into like elemental plane of fire, the elemental plane of water. Like, this is a cosmetology.
Cosmetology. Yes, cosmetology. Cosmic.
Now we've just erased the word from our rational brains and we can't. Cosmology? Wow. Yeah, okay. This is a cosmology. That sounds right.
Sure. Let's go with that.
That's kind of more like understandable. That's why 5th edition picked up on it. But like the city of Sigil and like the planes that were tied to like, well, I'm playing the plane of law, the plane of order.
Yeah.
Like the Tree of Yggdrasil connecting them, like the Infinite Staircase tied to Sigil, like these kind of weird, and also like there's this always Cthulhian aspect to it because like the city of Sigil is built by something that everybody agrees is not a god, but would have to be a god given the context, and it's never explained what that is. You know, they're like the Lady of Pain is there, and all the gods are like we will never go near the Lady of Pain, and you're like, not to mention, which I think was skipped over here, that I don't think they go into it. Yeah, because I think they would have happened by then. Like Planescape, the CRPG, was one of like the foundational products of BioWare.
Really?
You've never heard of Planescape?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's like it's known as one of their best, literally built on like the Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Kind of engine, but it was like one of their like greatest, like if you look up like the best storytelling CRPGs ever, Planescape is like highest one. You start as like what they call them. Somebody's gonna be screaming at me.
It's like I didn't actually play it. I've heard of it.
Yeah,
I've
bought it
a
like
little bit
twice.
Really?
Because it's hard to go back. Like even though when it came out, I would have been primed to play it.
Yeah.
And even like in the early 2000s when we were playing stuff like Morrowind and stuff, I would have played the living crap out of it. Now it's hard to go back and read walls of text.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And basically, you play as this kind of enigmatic figure who wakes up with no memory of self, but it's beyond that. It's almost like something stripped you of all identity, and you're essentially going through like the planar landscape involving sigil and like all the. So I mean, you go into all the weirdness.
Mm-hmm.
Really kind of awesome. The character of Strix in Acquisitions Incorporated, the Trash Witch.
Yeah.
She, like the player, was obsessed kind of with that game and the Planescape setting. So when she made her character, because I believe tieflings were invented for this setting.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She was like a tiefling orphan that was in like the trash piles doing work to survive and then escaped. And like, so she has this tie to this super dark subject matter, which is kind of awesome. And then kind of walks into fantasy, right?
Like,
oh, now I'm into like happy fun area.
Isn't this pleasant?
Yeah. Like
it's a nice change.
The whole, like, all the Planescape stuff is really freaking fascinating. And like I said, like a bedrock of so many things we know now. I mean, all like the Planewalker stuff essentially blossomed into, I mean, Magic was kind of happening at the same time, but it like put a heavy emphasis on like Magic storytelling development. And now they're interwoven together because the same company owns both of them. So,
and then Marvel and DC heard about it and thought, whoa, that'd be a really good idea. Let's make movies about stuff like that. They'd never done anything like it before.
Okay.
I'm joking. Don't scream at me.
Oh, dude, just get in the comments.
Just get in the comments.
So following Wizards of the Coast acquisition of TSR, Cook transitioned to the new company, assuming the role of senior designer. This period marked a pivotal point in his career with the key involvement in the development of Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition. He was part of the core design team along with Jonathan Tweet and Skip Williams, and he contributed significantly to the 3 foundational rulebooks of this edition: the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and of course, the Monster Manual. Cook expressed particular pride in his work on the new Dungeon Master's Guide, and he noted the positive feedback received from Gary Gygax on the book's usefulness. This release of 3rd edition was a landmark event that significantly brought RPGs into the mainstream with its more unified and accessible rule set, which we've talked about probably in a couple podcasts now. So Cook's contribution to the edition, especially the Dungeons Master Guide, was a major factor in its success and had a lasting impact on the RPG hobby, established the D20 system as a dominant framework for years to come. During his time at Wizards of the Coast, Cook also took on the lead design for the Return to the Temple of Elemental Evil, released in 2001. This adventure module served as a sequel to the classic AD&D module of the same name and was set in the world of Greyhawk, a well-established D&D campaign setting. Words are hard, y'all.
They are hard. Reading's fundamental.
The adventure centered in the resurgence of the cult of the Elder Elemental Eye and the machinations of the god Tharizdun. Leading the design of a sequel to such a beloved adventure demonstrated Cook's understanding of the D&D history and his ability to update classic material for new generations of players using the D&D 3rd edition rules. This project required a careful balance between honoring the legacy of the original module and incorporating the mechanical and design sensibilities of the new edition. Although published in 2002 after his departure, Wizards of the Coast, Cook also developed the D20 version of Call of Cthulhu, with work likely initiated during his tenure at the company. This project involved adapting the renowned horror RPG to the D20 system, making it accessible to a wider audience that was already familiar with those mechanics. He co-authored this adaptation with John Tynes, adapting a game with distinct identity and established mechanics like Call of Cthulhu for the D20 framework showcases understanding of different game systems and the ability to bridge them. So right there, this guy's already touched in 3 or 4 of the different podcasts that we've done recently.
Yep, and probably a few more that we're forgetting.
Yeah, and it's just his he's always there in these moments. And that was the thing is which I'll get to eventually where I started learning about him. But you just keep seeing this dude's name and if you're deep in the forums, then people be like, "Oh yeah, that's a Monty Cook thing." And you're like, "What?" So in 2001, Monty Cook left Wizards of the Coast, marking a significant turning point in his career as he embarked on his independent publishing journey. Following his departure from Wizards of the Coast, Cook found his own design studio, Malhavoc Press, in 2001. This move towards independent creative control was a pivotal moment in his career. To handle publishing and distribution, he partnered with Sword and Sorcery Studios, an imprint of White Wolf Publishing. So, wow, another hallmark that he just touched.
Yeah, there we go.
This allowed him primarily to focus on game design and writing. Malhavoc Press concentrated on creating third-party material for 3rd edition D&D, leveraging Cook's expensive experience with the rule set. The first product released under the Malhavoc Press banner was the Book of Eldritch Might in 2001. This publication holds the distinction of being the first commercial book sold exclusively as a PDF by a print company.
It's so weird.
2001.
Yeah, it's just, you think about now, it's like everything is a PDF somewhere, somehow.
Now it's like most RPG content is now PDF only.
Yeah, exclusively.
Yeah. It achieved immediate success and played a crucial role in demonstrating the viability of PDF publishing within the RPG industry, a significant shift in how RPGs were distributed and consumed. The Book of Eldritch Might also received an Emmy Award, further recognizing its quality and impact. So Malhavoc Press also produced the Arcana Unearthed and Arcana Evolved variants players' handbooks, along with the Diamond Throne setting. Arcana Unearthed was a variant player's handbook for the D20 system set in a giant-ruled world of the Diamond Throne, offering a distinct alternative to the standard D&D settings and rules. It featured alternative rules, classes, and races, encouraging players to explore character concepts beyond typical archetypes, and it won an Emmy Award. Arcana Evolved served as an updated director's cut that combined the content of Arcana Unearthed, the Diamond Throne, and the Player's Companion, with new material further refining and expanding his vision for the settings and rules. Arcana Evolved also received an Emmy Award, highlighting its artistic design and merit. These books demonstrate his ability to create compelling and original fantasy worlds and offer innovative variants on the D20 system. Particularly acclaimed creation from Malhavoc Press was the Tallest City by the Spire campaign setting, released in 2006. This massive 672-page D&D supplement detailed a single incredibly detailed city and was based on Cook's long-running home game.
That's ridiculous.
It's like, hey guys, if you really want to get all your notes, just go buy this book for me.
Well, it's not only that, but the dude is meticulously taking notes for every campaign, recording every encounter, every person. Wow.
Tallest won multiple Emmy Awards, solidifying its status as a high-quality and influential product. It is widely regarded as one of the most comprehensive and detailed city settings ever created for D&D, showcasing Cook's meticulous attention to detail and world-building skills. It stands as a landmark achievement in urban fantasy setting design, demonstrating his capacity to create richly detailed and immersive worlds suitable for extensive campaigns. The sheer size and level of detail in Tallest highlight his dedication to providing game masters with a wealth of material to work with.
See, what I would love to know how. I would have to see the book, but I'd love to see how it is formatted and laid out, because it just feels like that is so much.
Yeah, right? I mean, 672 pages is crazy.
Yeah.
Which is also not the biggest book, because there is the big, like the world's largest dungeon.
Yeah, but I feel like that's more of a just, hey, we're just going to keep doing this gimmick, where his is like, no, I've literally mapped the city. There's a map to the sewers. I figured out the schedule of the waste pickup, what time they come around and turn all the lights on. Oh, this little old lady at the fruit market, she's not there on Thursday. She goes to see her sister in this town over here that I've described. This is the path she takes.
It's like here are all the character information for Oblivion.
Right.
Like every character schedule. Yeah, it's just kind of, I'm pretty sure there's also a video game that derived from that. I believe so. Other notable publications under Malhavoc Press include the Book of Eldritch Might 2, Songs and Souls of Power, the Bone Warrens, the Book of Hallowed Might, Monty Cook Presents Iron Heroes, and the Book of Roguish Luck. These releases further demonstrate the creative output of Malhavoc Press under Cook's leadership, offering a diverse range of supplements for the D20 system. Around 2006, Cook began to shift some of his focus towards fiction writing, although he continued to produce game-related materials under the Malhavoc Press imprint. So, like, there is a theme of 2000 to 2010 RPG supplements, like the way the names are written, like the style, and like this dude he was largely responsible for a lot of them. Like he was just ingrained in that. It's like there's an evolution from this is all goofy stuff and we're going to treat it goofy and fantasy and like talk about it in this romancing way. And then there's a bridge over to now we're going to put realistic modern interpretations on accepting it and defining it, which is like 5th edition. And the bridge in between is like the metal poster, like Demigods 3, you know, like the weird in between where they hadn't quite figured out like how to make you take it seriously, but also be like
less schlocky.
Yeah, there you go. Like it's pretty, this dude is definitely in there.
What you just described reminds me of the transition from like the golden age and silver age comic books to like current, and the way that they spoke and the way that they talked. You know, like you had the whole thing with Lex Luthor's. It's like, ha, Batman, ha, Superman. You don't know, but this telephone is my special sun obliteration ray. Little do you know that when I press this button, it will destroy the planet. Like you have that whole thing, and then like you have what happened in between. And then you have things that they talk like normal people.
Yeah, exactly. It's that weird in between, like that calibration time period.
Yeah.
Where you also just have weird stuff happening. So in 2011, Monty Cook briefly returned to Wizards of the Coast. He took over the Legends and Lore column, a platform for sharing his insights on D&D. So bear in mind, this time he's like 10 years in the industry. In January of 2012, he was announced as the lead designer for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons.
Makes sense.
However, this tenure was short-lived as he announced his departure from Wizards of the Coast in April 2012, citing differences of opinion with the company.
Not surprised.
Yeah, it's like if you're keeping track of like the stuff he's producing, it doesn't fit with 5th edition. That's not.
No.
You're like, how could he end up there? It doesn't work. Insert, Mike Merles, the other guys. Anyway. Jeremy Crawford, Chris Perkins. I don't know why I had to say that, but I had to flex that a little bit. I don't know. So this is a weird episode. Even this brief involvement in the early stages of D&D 5th edition suggests his continued influence and expertise were sought by the game developers. In 2012, Cook co-founded Monty Cook Games, LLC with Shannon Germain. This marked a significant new chapter in his career, allowing him to focus on creating original game systems and setting under his own company. And this is kind of when I had heard the name multiple times, and all of a sudden, like, stuff was starting to, like, fall into my wheelhouse, and I was like, that's weird. This venture provided him with complete creative freedom to develop his unique design philosophies. One of the first and most successful creations of Monty Cook Games was the Numenera setting released in 2013. The game, my version of GURPS.
Yeah.
I couldn't get anybody excited about.
Nope. Well, let me tell you why I hate it. Just kidding.
Let me tell you why I personally hate that. Numenera is a science, fantasy, and post-apocalyptic setting set 1 billion years in the future, showcasing a bold and imaginative world. It utilizes the streamlined rules of the Cypher System, which was developed later, emphasized ease of play and narrative focus. Numenera was inspired by Planescape, hint, and was launched through a highly successful Kickstarter campaign demonstrating strong community interest in his new project. It also received an Origins Award. The Cypher System itself is the game engine that powers Numenera and is designed to be versatile across various genres, focusing on narrative and ease of use with players making most of the roles. Numenera and the Cypher System represent a significant evolution in Cook's design philosophy, moving towards a more streamlined, narrative-driven approach compared to the D20 system. The success of Numenera highlighted the market's appetite for the original RPG outside of the D&D framework. So Numenera also had a video game creation from it
Mhm.
that was basically like the spiritual successor to Planescape. And that was actually how I learned about it. Was like, I was like, oh, is there just some new version of Planescape? That, because like Planescape Torment is the game.
Yeah.
And I was like, can I just play that new thing instead? And it was like Numenera. And I started playing it and I was like, oh, there's like an RPG that this is based off of. Then I went back. The real key that Numenera interest that like really took over my brain, and like this has largely influenced our idea of creating a game,
Yeah.
was the concept of the players do almost all the rolling. I think they do all the rolling. Basically, there's a concept that players have 3 attributes and they have 3 pools of resources, and they can spend those resources based on their aptitude to basically make checks easier.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah. So the whole idea is that that's also the target of things like attacks and stuff.
Mhm.
So the thing you're using to attack better is also the thing you need to defend. So if you don't have it to defend, then you can become incapacitated. And it's a very interesting mechanic. And the thing that I really like about it, the thing that I think it fixes that like a standard D20 system doesn't have, is the difference between a person being at full hit points and being at 2 hit points. Like if you're exhausted at the end of a fight, like you shouldn't operate at full capacity.
Mhm.
And also this thing that there's no gradient or no advancement, or sorry, there's no like sliding curve from fully healthy and ready to fight to I am at my last thread.
I'm at my limits. Anything else, I'm going to keel over.
Like there needed to be some sort of mechanic to like make
wounds, damage. Yeah. Yep.
And this introduced that concept of like, as a player, you're uniquely aware of your resources. So when you start getting low, you're going to feel that desperation of like, man, do I really need this fight to end? Is it worth putting all my effort into this single hit to try to drop this guy and then try to catch my breath afterwards? Or if I risk that and I lose, am I just screwed?
Right.
And I think that's so much more evocative of allowing the rule system to create the tension rather than you going like, man, I only got 5 hit points left.
Right.
Pray for a crit, like. So, yeah, it's interesting idea to me. So Monty Cook Games also released The Strange, a game using the Cypher System.
Should have picked a different name.
The Strange.
Go and get me some strange.
A game using the Cypher System that involves travel through different worlds known as recursions. This game was created with Bruce Cordell. The Strange further demonstrates the flexibility of the Cypher System by applying it to a setting that involves exploring a multiverse of diverse realities, aligning with Cook's earlier interest in multi-genre narratives. Following the success of these games, Monty Cook Games released the core Cypher System rulebook, a standalone rulebook that allows others to create their own games using the system. This solidified the Cypher System as a distinct and independent game engine. And then he also had like a Kickstarter where they released it. This is like the weird thing with Monty Cook too. Like if you have is sometimes you'll have a Kickstarter and the Kickstarter will be like, oh, the extras on this Kickstarter, you're going to like pay a bunch to get the core rule book. And then you'll get like 5 other books down the road as we write them. And then for the next 3 years of your life, you keep getting emails like, hey, the next book's out. And like you get these random books being shown up to you and you're like, what is this? And you're like, oh, this is Godforsaken. That's cool. Like this is this other, like the stars are on fire, which is like the like
a very correct statement.
Yeah, like yeah, true. But like it's these really cool like setting books for the Cypher System, and you're like, oh man, this is cool. But like I totally forgot that I backed that thing,
Yeah. That reminds me of another conversation we had where you're just like, yeah, this box showed up and it was just full of minis.
Like I forgot I did this. That's the weirdest thing is being like, oh man, I really wish I had joined that Kickstarter back in the day.
And then you did.
Then I find out it's sitting in my basement and I'm like, whoa, I might have a problem. This otherwise would be a pleasant surprise, but instead it shows psychological problems I have. So yeah. Other notable games from the Monty Cook Games include Invisible Sun, a surreal fantasy game known for its unique and unconventional approach to the genre. This is one of the things that really enamored me to like his kind of weird thing is I don't know of any other and maybe audience chime in on this, I don't know of any other weirdly boutique flex that there is in the TTRPG genre as to the Invisible Sun and owning the black cube. Like, Invisible Sun is the most esoteric, weird game system. It comes in like 1.5 by 1.5 black cube.
Oh, I remember you telling me about this.
That literally unfolds and has the drawers that complete all the game pieces that you need to play, including like a bronze sculpted hand that just sits on the table. Like, it is this like acid trip with punched cardboard handouts of a game system that is, and it, like, rightfully so, meant, it's used to tell stories in a universe where humans are just magical, godlike beings sleeping. And when we die, essentially we wake up as ourselves in a world where like our will shapes reality, and everybody's like a mage, and people can play characters that range from weird, like, time warping wizards to like a flock of goldfish that float together. Like, it is
I wish to play this game, Grey.
It is, and we will. Like, it has to be done when everybody's ready to play it, because it is going to be a weird experience. And like, there's a, like I said, you could go online, and there's really only a couple YouTube videos that I know about talking about reviews of this thing, because
Isn't it like very expensive too?
Yeah, it's like it was a good couple $100 like to buy this thing and have it sitting on the shelf. That's why I said it's one of those weird Hallmark flexes where you're like, dude, that's the Invisible Sun box. You know? Like, kind of like you'd expect to see
under glass.
Yeah, but like, I expect it's one of those things where, like, first of all, do you know about this thing? Secondly, you paid for it? Like, there's some weird stuff happening here. And then
I found it at this old lady's garage sale.
Yeah, not to mention the people who actually like play, because every time he's done it twice. He did the original run, which was a limited edition. Like, he's only gonna, because you can't just order an infinite amount of these things. So he made however many, and then like a couple of years ago, he was like, okay, we're gonna reprint it because people are now interested in it, so we're gonna do a reprint. And like I said, I've only heard of like a few in comparison to other games of like online playthroughs of, you know, this kind of game of people playing it. And like, you have to sit in and like, it's not just like Dimension 20 where you're like, oh, that's a half orc. You're like, all right, what the heck is this guy? He's a wizard wizard tradition, Vancian magic, which gets its name from an entire old, fantasy series type of magic, which is the root from all D&D like it's just, there's so much of weird, like, this is not the game that you're going to get your like grandma to understand. This is like the distillation of like your table, and you pick the people in your table that might like this,
right?
And then form a new table of people who are like,
this is the advanced table.
Yeah, it's basically role playing with your head so far up your butt that you're like in a different world, I love it. I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing.
This reminds me of a game we played many years ago where I thought I was being clever, and I created a character who had the ability to create high technology that was powered from abstract thought. And do you remember this? You ran this game. It was the first time you ran a game.
Oh, the first time we ran a game.
Yes.
I know what game you're talking about, but now I'm trying to remember
I had the scientist, and he had things like, oh, I have this steam-powered train thing, and it's powered by the love of kittens.
Yeah, okay, a little bit. That sounds familiar. I think I was just so obsessed with Max and Steven.
Yeah.
And of course, then Steven's girlfriend trying to throw a pencil at a zombie. Yeah, that was... Yeah, okay.
What does it do? Nothing.
Yeah, I just, I really didn't mean, yeah, it just, there's a certain thing when someone's like watching, how were those shows that was like Dollhouse? Or
Yeah.
was it
Yeah.
the director of the first Avengers movie? He did Buffy.
Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon. Like if you're in like a Joss Whedon like
This is the
action, like I'm in stilettos, I'm gonna kick you and throw something and it's gonna like go through the head of the zombie, and then the person who's running the game is in just like zombie apocalypse, and he's like,
Yeah.
oh, you pick up a pencil and throw it at the zombie, like, yeah, what happens? Like it bounces off, I guess. I don't know.
It doesn't even stick in him. Okay, it sticks in him. So anyway,
I don't.
it's a zombie.
Physics. I don't understand what. Yeah, that was just a miscalibration of a setting. So
yeah, it was funny. We all had our heads up our own asses in that one.
Yeah. Okay, so some other games that he created. No, thank you, Evil. A family-friendly RPG designed to introduce younger audiences to the hobby. This one's kind of cool. It's basically a game setting that is calibrated to the age of the kids. And then like young kids, this is for very young kids. And as they get older and they hit like a milestone, then you add another layer of complex rules on it so that you're introducing them. The funny thing is everybody I've heard that have played it with their kids, they said their kids aged out of it like almost instantly.
Really?
Well, because like kids are just information sense.
Yeah.
And if you teach one of the most phenomenal ways to get your kids interested in math and writing is to get them hooked on a game that involves math and writing.
That's true.
Because they're just going to focus on like, I need to learn that skill set to play the game better.
Mm-hmm.
And so you introduce a kid to like RPGs and they just go buck wild.
And hopefully they don't become so hyper-focused on just that select set of skills that they can't transfer that to anything else.
No, the math is only applicable to rolling dice percentages. And
I have 5 apples. I take away 2. What do I have left? I don't know. So Link gets hit by a boulder. Oh, well, that takes away 5 hit points. So that means he's got 3 hit points left. What?
It's the story problems in game terms.
Yes.
That's a secret that somebody needs to write down. Stealing Stories for the Devil, a reality-altering heist game. That's interesting. I don't know about that one. Tidal Blades, the role-playing game. A tropical fantasy game using the Cypher System. Your Best Game Ever. This is an interesting one. He wrote this pretty interesting book. I think he had a Kickstarter for it. And it was basically a agnostic book about RPG advice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like the purpose of most of this podcast.
Yeah.
Where it was just about like, here is a wealth of information about talking with your players about certain things and essentially how to sit down and run your best game ever. And Planebreaker, which allows players to explore the planes using either the Cypher System or 5th edition D&D rules. These diverse titles demonstrate the continued creativity and innovation emanating from Monty Cook Games under his leadership. So beyond his extensive work in role-playing games, Monty Cook also has an established career as an author of novels and short stories. His published novels include The Glass Prison, a heroic fantasy set in the Forgotten Realms, and Of Aged Angels, a modern-day conspiracy and paranormal tale that has ties into his Dark Matter RPG. These novels provide another outlet for his storytelling abilities, allowing for deeper exploration of characters and narratives. His short stories have appeared in various anthologies and magazines, including Amazing Stories, Realms of Mystery, Forgotten Realms, Dragon Magazine, and Dungeon Magazine, and Game Trade Magazine. He also writes a continuing Call of Cthulhu fiction series, The Chandler Chronicles, in Game Trade Magazine. Additionally, Cook has ventured into comic book writing, including the Tullis Monty Cook City by the Spire limited series for Marvel Comics, and some shorter works. In nonfiction, he authored The Skeptic's Guide to Conspiracies. Furthermore, Cook contributed to video game by writing dialogue for the MMORPG Marvel Heroes.
Guy gets around.
Like I said, this dude is like, I don't want to say, he's not like an industry pioneer. He is influential in so many things.
He's a driving force.
Yes. And he's probably getting to the point where he's aging out.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's not that old. I mean, he's only like 10 years older than us. But like he is, unfortunately, time comes for us all. And he is getting to the point where he's kind of settled into like, he's got his gaming company out there. He's making revisions to the stuff he makes. He'll come out with new stuff probably, and he's probably pretty safe and settled, not going to make many waves. But he was there during a lot of like that weird early 2000s. Like it's almost like the after effect of the 90s.
Yeah.
you know, like 90s D&D. Well, it's not 90s D&D. It was like 3rd edition.
Right.
Like the weirdness of 3rd edition, where 3rd edition came out and was like, it's all new. We're Wizards of the Coast. We got money. We're going to do this stuff. We're going to be flashy. And even to my previous point, that transition thing, even if you look up the books, like original D&D, like advanced D&D, 2nd edition, kind of the books were like, you know, the hardcovers are like the bound books with like, you know, like the iconic art on them. 3rd edition was when like they made the book in a like hardcover, that glossy kind of mass print, and the book was made to look like a leather bound tome locked.
Yep.
Like even then, like they were trying to emulate this kind of fictional jump. And like this book looks like a chest, and you know, like it's this weird kind of
just the gimmicks.
Yeah, it's like this gimmick oriented thing that they hadn't yet gotten rid of when they went to 4th edition.
Mm-hmm.
And like when they went to 4th edition, for better or for worse, they were like, this is now a formal professional product. And now we're gonna go to the UI guys or to the designers, and they're gonna design like a language. And like 5th edition, they had the language on paper nailed down. Every book has it. And they're like, this is now a professional thing. And no longer is it that. It's like adolescence. For me, it feels like that was the RPG adolescence.
A run on thought in a lot of places.
Yeah. And if anything, this dude is like the king of RPG adolescence. I've got ideas.
I've got so many freaking ideas.
So many ideas. We're going to overturn everything. We're going to do things differently. And it's crazy. And all the stuff I'm telling is like really, you know, evocative and emotional. Cause like, fuck your parents and fuck the world. And we're, you know, and like, you're just like, yeah. And then eventually you kind of come on the other end and you're like, maybe that needed to be formalized into
it's the young teenagers with a punk band grown up.
Very much so. Yeah, I think so. That was always my kind of vibe with a lot of his stuff. Like where you're just like, I get it. Cause I'm always a teenager at heart, bleeding heart on my sleeve. But I'm like, at a certain point, I'm like, man, I should grow up. And maybe I don't need to make something, you know, called like Demigods and Angels from Hell, the City of Demons, Side Quest 3-4, you know.
Part of the Elantra.
Yeah, so. But anyway, you got to give him credit where credit is due, and we wish him all the best in his endeavors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Numenera is something that I think if you guys want to get some weird stuff, go look it up. It's a really kind of out there sci-fi fiction-y, not even sci-fi, like it's science fantasy. Like it is like, you know, like weird magic-y sci-fi.
Let's do it.
Definitely something to look into. We might play it someday, try to give it like actual some interesting stuff. They have some really cool ideas, but they're very like, they're out there. Like, so like the difference in my mind, maybe you can understand this. Maybe this is just me talking out of my butt. The difference between like sci-fi, like science fiction and then like sci-fi fantasy is like science fiction has this element where when you're reading it or you're interacting with it, it always feels grounded to some deviation from real. Like you're like, I can directly connect to the scientific principle where this idea is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
You're like Star Trek, like sci-fi fantasy and space opera and stuff is like Star Wars, right? Like there's this element of like magic that got thrown in there. And like that distinction sometimes feels like cheapen, like it makes you cheapen it a little bit, like on the bad side. Like if it's not done well. Like,
yeah.
If they're trying to like midichlorians and they're trying to explain it, you're like,
Space Jesus.
Get back over to sci-fi fantasy. Like,
right.
Stop trying to drift to the explainable.
But then you also have like Dune.
Yeah. And like,
and the spice and the abilities that grants.
And that's where when it stays in its lane.
Yeah.
And like, I think traditional Star Wars stays in its lane very well too. And so Numenera is kind of in that where they're like, we're going to give you a thing that is vaguely scientific, but if you think too hard, you'll figure all the reasons why none of this would work. And so if you can accept that separation, it's cool. Like they have this concept where on the planet, there are these roving storms of nanobots. and they just continuously move. And because like it's a lost science world where they don't understand what these things are, they know that these storms are inherently dangerous, and that if they come, they have to buckle everything down and make sure none of this stuff gets in them. And they think of it as this weird magic that changes you, like it's a chaotic storm. But in reality, what's happening is if you get caught in one of these things, the nanobots start rewriting your physical properties. They may just turn you into stone or iron or fire or lava, and you just die, because now it's just like, oh, it's like gray ooze in like a like whirling, basically tornado. That's such a cool thing.
That is cool.
You're like, holy crud. But it also relies on this weird thing that you have to do with your players where you're like, your character doesn't know the reference I'm giving you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm saying this is a magical storm that like chaos energies change you. But then I'm telling you as a player, it's a colony of nanobots. And you're like, ooh, this is so cool. But my player doesn't know. There's a lot of like hurdles to get into like the right groove to play this game. And if you could do it, I think it's really cool. We haven't done it yet.
No, we haven't.
But maybe someday we'll get there. And who knows? Maybe we'll share that adventure with you. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on Monty Cook.
It's good.
Yeah.
He's quite the fella.
Yeah, go watch his awkward explanation of how to play Invisible Sun. You'll get all you need to know about him from that little encounter. But hey, man, we all can't be, Brendan Lee Mulligans. On that insight,
oh, God.
we're going to end it.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.